Hello and welcome down to the wire today. My name is Ross,
I'm Bryce.
and today we're back with Jimmy Butler's house behind me. So we got a good show for you today. And Bryce, you want to lead us off with the first segment?
Yeah, sure. So today, our first segment, we're going to be talking about Victor Oladipo. Recently, the Pacers offered him a contract extension worth $80 million for 4 years. And basically, Victor declined it. He was insulted by the offer, but I'll let you go with your thoughts on it first, Ross.
I honestly, I, I think it's great for him to not accept it, but it definitely puts a lot of pressure on him this year to definitely be able to perform the way he should to get a contract extension that he'd like in the next year or two. Um, or is he a free agent this year or the year after? If I'm correct. I think it's the year
This
after.
next offseason, he's a free
Yeah,
agent.
yeah.
Yep.
So it definitely because I think he's getting paid about $20 million right
Yeah.
now, or 21 million.
A little more
Yeah,
than 20. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, honestly, if you from his perspective, he's pulling a DeMarcus Cousins where he's taking less money for a year, or he's not taking less money, but he's banking on himself to do well for a year without getting hurt. That's where the similarity is. It's my fault with that bad analogy, but I think everyone understands. You get that 1 year, and you hopefully are able to recover. Now, it takes a while for some people to get back on their feet from an injury like that, and even perform well. If you look at Gordon Hayward, but apparently the unicorn over in Dallas is able to live through it like nothing ever happened. So honestly, I don't blame him though. What about you, Bryce?
Yeah. I can't blame Oladipo for uh, declining the offer or being insulted. He's making $84 million right now on a 4 year contract, so it's a little more than 20 per year. And then they offer him a little bit less. Even if they offered him the same amount, I mean, I think he'd still be insulted. So yeah, I think he's worth a little more than what he's making now. Maybe not quite like the 30 mil range, but maybe more like 25. So I can't blame him. Uh, what I will say is, I don't think the Pacers. I think they still have a chance of re-signing him. I don't think that means that he's set on leaving or anything like that. But I want to see him stay with the Pacers. He's never really had like a true home in the NBA. He's never really stayed with any teams for more than a couple years. So I mean, it would be nice for him to stick around, and hopefully that Pacers team can get a lot of success within the next few years.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, I agree with him, and you say you're agreeing with him, and I think again, he's betting on himself. He's making sure he's not hurt, and that's the one part. It's like, okay, do you really want to bet on yourself for that long, for that year, and then hopefully you don't get hurt, or hopefully you're able to perform the same way? Because he's definitely the way max deals are going, he's definitely a max contract kind of guy if he stays healthy and if he gets back to the way he
Yeah.
was before his injury. But if he can't get back to before the injury, it may hurt his chances of getting a bigger deal. But I think he'll stay a pacer. I think they have a good young core, and though he's not the youngest, he's maybe 28, 29 now, I think, if I'm correct.
20, 27, 28,
Yeah,
27, I
yeah,
think.
and he's still not the oldest. He's not the youngest. If anything, he's just in his prime right now. So
Yeah.
they definitely can build something around him. And again, they have Brogdon and guys like that. They can work for the future too. So that'll definitely help.
Yeah, yeah, just one last thing. I think he can turn into a 30 mil per year guy. I mean, max contract basically. But if he's not an all-star next season and he's, not doing as well as usual, then it can go the other way around. He can just be a 18, 20 mil guy if he doesn't live up to par.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll see. There's a lot of ways this can go, and obviously, it's mostly where he wants to end up going if he wants to stay a pacer or not. So let's go right to the next segment. That was the Knicks trying to
Yeah.
possibly attempt to trade for Mr. Chris Paul from the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, before we go into this segment, let me just mention that Chris Paul is making about $41 million next year. And the year after will be making $44 million. So, Bryce, what are your thoughts on this one?
Oh God. Yeah. This is not in the Knicks' best interest. Um, you know, the best thing that you can get out of this isn't even that great, and that is for the first time since the unicorn, Chris Paul will be the most exciting thing in town, which will convince other players to come in free agency. No, no.
Yeah,
Um, First of all, he's making way too much money, and the plan, ever since the Knicks didn't get KD and Kyrie, the plan was, and they even told us, I'm not assuming that they told us this, we're going to sign a bunch of guys for 2 years. We're not going to re-sign them so that we can have enough money the offseason 2 years from now, which is now 1 year from now. You're not going to have that kind of money when you have a guy on your team who's making $44 million. And even if they had a guy with that kind of contract, Chris Paul, uh, you know, I don't think he's gonna convince. I don't think he's gonna intrigue other players to come. I mean, I think he's a really likable guy around the league. I think our players, if he's on the Knicks, and our players are deciding where to go when they're free agents, not too long from now. Yeah, I mean, if they're considering the Knicks, they'll look at Chris Paul and they go, "Oh, Chris Paul," but then they're gonna remember that he's old. He's still good, but he's not what he used to be. Him and even in our All Star are probably not gonna carry them to the playoffs, depending who that All Star is. Um, this makes no sense. And I'll just say one last thing: should the Thunder trade him? Yeah, but I don't want to see him in a place where he's just not gonna win at all. If he never wins a championship, he'll be one of the greatest players to never win a championship. I want to see him get traded to a team that actually has a shot at contending.
now let me just mention before I go, I did forget. Not on top of the 41 million, on top of the player option the year after for 44 million. This man is 34 years old.
Yep.
So he will be 35 next year and 36 the year after. Now, this is the part where I've done thinking, and I've also listened to a few other people talk about this, and I'm kind of I don't really know how to feel about it now. As a Knicks fan, I love it and I hate it. I think, all right, so he's the kind of guy. He's the president of the Players Association. He may not be always the greatest guy on the court. He may seem a bit of a pest at times, though he is still great. And I think it shows that James Harden covered some of what was left of him in his prime or just coming out of his prime in Houston, where he's showing it this year as an all-star on the Thunder. And I think I think he's one of those guys, even past his talent and his ability, he's a presence in the locker room that's different than any other kind of player I think we can see today. I think there are not many like that who are able to do what he was able to do and help Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and help other guys on that team. I think he's even helped some of the older guys. Steven Adams, I feel like is definitely. I think everyone's benefited from him being
Dennis
there.
Schroeder.
Schroeder, yeah, I think a lot of these guys have, and moving forward, I think right now, things change. Your plans change. You could say one thing one year, the next thing, whatever, it just happens. So yeah, they did say we'll take a couple 1-2 year deals and move forward, except for Randall, obviously with the 3 year deal. But the whole point was to be ready for the 2021 offseason, be able to get guys like Giannis. They're not drawing anyone in. Even if
No,
they don't get Chris Paul, they're not drawing
no,
anyone in a
no.
year. And I think they've noticed that. So I think they're just trying to set a precedent is that, hey, if Chris Paul comes here and we can show that James Dolan doesn't get in the way and that they can run a decent organization, he may lead for other people to start coming. He may not do it as a Nick. He may, and you know what? Maybe in a year, as much as he's not going to get 44 million ever again, there's a shot he can even get $20 million at 35 if he's still at the performance level he's at right now.
Yeah,
So even on a decent team, so maybe at that point they're thinking after next year, maybe he'll decide to just opt out. He'll say, I really enjoyed my time in New York. It was great. And then boom, he may opt out. Now, obviously, $44 million is nothing to play around with. But when you're a millionaire after making $41 million over 2 years, I think
yeah,
if you want to win a championship for a guy like him, maybe it's time for him to leave or take a buyout or take something, and maybe the Knicks would be willing to do that. And hey, maybe does the $44 million deal, he accepts it, and then takes a buyout halfway through the year, and it makes only 22, and then makes another five elsewhere. So there's a lot of options.
Yeah. As a Knicks fan, I would if Chris Paul came to the Knicks as a fan, I would embrace him. I would accept him. It's not like I don't like him. It's just he's not gonna really help us. Maybe a smidge, and he doesn't deserve to be on such a horrible team.
Again, I don't think for him it's not right, but at the same time, I think he definitely it wouldn't hurt him and it wouldn't hurt the Knicks, and I think that's what the whole point is if anything, it'll hurt the Knicks more than it'll hurt Chris Paul because anything Chris Paul says he's out of there, he doesn't want to be there, they trade him if they can, and if they can't, he opts out. So I think there's a lot of options, and there's only really positives that could come from this. I don't think there's many negatives other than we don't like him. Screw you. So yeah,
Yeah, I don't even, I don't think the negatives are gonna be like a horribly negative thing. It's just it's not great for anyone. There might be a few positive things, but I don't know.
yeah. Again, I and honestly, it's not like we have anything going for us next year. So maybe this will definitely give us something to look at and be like, oh wow, we have a star here, even if it's a star on the other end of his career.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So the next segment, Bryce.
Yeah,
Uh,
so we're gonna give you guys a little more MLB action than usual. With two MLB topics today rather than just the standings. I guess this has to do with standings, but it's more standings in case you didn't get enough already. Um, so yeah, recently the MLB proposed a new format for the divisions. It would basically be an East division, a West Division and a Central Division. No, like it's not American League and National League. It's just divisions. So the East would be the Orioles, the Red Sox, the Pirates, the Marlins, the Mets, the Yankees, the Phillies, the Rays, the Blue Jays, and the Nationals. West would be Angels, A's, Giants, Rockies, Rangers, Dodgers, Diamondbacks, Astros, Padres, Mariners, and then the Central would be the Braves, the Reds, the Brewers, the Royals, the Cardinals, the Tigers, the Cubs, the Indians, the Twins, and the White Sox.
Now,
And
keep in mind
basically,
too, this would only be for this year, right? This would be just this year for the moment.
for now, but they may extend it in the future. And the reason they did this was, the MLB, they're probably going to end up playing only 80 to 100 games this year. And this is, they wouldn't have come up with this if not for quarantine. Not only that, but they did it so that, it's not so harsh on the players' bodies because, this means not as much traveling. I mean, because they did it by geography. So this is also to make sure the the shortened season is going to help the players so they're not as stressed out physically, but also the geography of the new divisions is going to help with that too.
Yeah, I think it's less them working on making sure their bodies are okay. Well, that's important to them, but I think it's more of just it's quicker to get to certain
Yeah, it'll
places.
be faster. Yeah,
Yeah, and less travel. They may not have to get on a plane as much, less possible chance of spreading something that could happen. It's definitely keeps it contained a lot better, but I don't know. I'd like to see how the playoff idea works. I think this definitely will. Other leagues will look towards this, and I think that this could be definitely a possibility in the NBA and the NFL if this ends up working out with with MLB. So maybe we'll see a change in some other leagues too with this. We've already seen stuff like not every division in the NBA has to have a playoff contender or has to have a team in the playoffs now. It's basically the divisions are just to see who plays what team more.
right.
So this has already kind of happened in leagues. So maybe this will definitely push some other leagues forward.
Yeah, yeah. At first I hated this, and then I read why they did it, and I kind of like it now. For a season or two, it would be cool, but I feel like after that, I would kind of want to go back to the way it used to be.
Yeah,
You know, I like it because, and I don't know how the playoffs is going to work out after, you know, making the divisions like this instead. But you know, teams that don't normally play each other that much are going to play each other more often, which is nice. You're going to have new and more rivals, some people like that. Not only team rivals, but some of the big name players will be playing each other more often than usual, which is really cool to see. Trout and Shohei Ohtani versus Mookie Betts and Kershaw. I think that's pretty cool to see, and the the New York teams are going to play each other more than just one series a year. The Mets and the Yankees. Um, who else? The White Sox and the Cubs are going to play each other more now. That's another in-town rivalry. The Rangers versus the Astros, all the California teams. So, I think for a year, or maybe just test it out and do it for 2 years just to see what happens. That would be pretty cool. So for now, this actually isn't a terrible idea. Um, and we'll see what happens. It might be fun.
yeah, yeah, that's for sure. I already gave my opinion, but I think this will definitely help change it up this year and definitely see what happens
Yeah.
and maybe make the playoffs interesting. We're just gonna go right into the next segment,
Yeah.
which is the AL West. Um,
Yep.
so we're gonna go same order as we usually do. Most improved, brightest future, who's gonna win the division, and there's one more. Or just
Order.
keep it, yeah, in order. So I'll start with my opinion first. I have the brightest future. I have probably, um, I would have to say, probably the Angels. I think I I don't see them screwing this up any much longer with Mike Trout and Ohtani, and they're gonna have to pay Ohtani soon because I think he was only on a 4 or 5 year deal, so and he's already played 2 years. But Ohtani's a monster. They have a lot again with Trout and some of those other guys on the team, and I think they definitely have a good start to what could be if they just keep pushing forward. Who's your brightest future?
Yeah. By the way, just something real quick. CC Sabathia the other day said Shohei Ohtani was the greatest player that he has ever seen. So maybe that's a discussion for another day, but I think that's really interesting.
Hey, I don't really know because to be honest, right now that man has lost a whole bunch of weight, and since he's lost that whole bunch of weight, he could be a little delirious. So I would just be careful with what he says. And he also said he's ready to play for the Raiders. So hold up, let's just take 2 seconds to think about what he just said. All
Yeah.
right. Anyway,
Um,
Bryce, who's your opinion on brightest future?
yeah, Brandon's future, I got the Angels too. And I'm just gonna say it right now, they also are gonna be most improved. I mean, same with what you said, I can't see them screwing it up anymore. I mean, year after year after year, they have had multiple all-stars on the team, still can't make the playoffs, or even if they do, they get bounced out immediately. Um, Honestly, if the Angels don't make it to the playoffs this year, I think they're just cursed. I mean, you know. Maybe the next Babe Ruth is on the team, and Mike Trout, one of the greatest players of all time, is also. I mean, you got two players who have the chance to be the greatest player of all time on the same team. Now you're gonna forget a championship right now. You can't make the playoffs. Come on, I think they'll finally make the playoffs, and if they screw this up, I think they're just cursed. Um,
I don't know
so
about this
yeah,
year, but they definitely will. But most improved, I think I agree. I have them, if not maybe the Rangers, this year.
yeah,
Moving forward, like I said, brightest future definitely Angels. I think this year most improved could either be them or the Angels. But I don't see the Athletics and the Astros getting any better or getting any worse. So that'll definitely hurt their chances at the playoffs. The Angels will have to improve 25 plus games, which is a hard feat to do in general.
yeah.
So that's a definite. So next year's order, we have. Who do you have?
Um, I'm gonna go Astros number one. This is probably a whole nother discussion. I'm not gonna get into it, but I mean, it'll probably be a little worse without the cheating. Maybe not much worse though. I think they'll
What
still be
about
good
your
enough to
boy
win the
Garrett
division.
Cole? He's not even there anymore.
I know. I
Yes,
understand. Uh, they'll still be good enough to win the division. Probably
100.
then they won't be as good as last year, but
Yeah.
they're good enough to win the division. And then after the Astros, I'm gonna go Angels. I think they can finally get it done. I'm really hoping so. And then after that, I think it's gonna be a close one between the Athletics and Rangers. And then so yeah, either third or fourth for them. I think it can flip flop either way. And then Mariners fifth place.
All right.
So yeah, Astros are gonna win the division. Yeah.
So I'm again the Astros winning the division. It will be tough though. They have a different manager now this year, and they have a different general manager. That's definitely a culture shock. I don't care what they say. Team could be exactly the same. It's definitely a culture shock. And then I have the Athletics, the
Really?
Rangers. Yeah, the Athletics,
Wow.
probably the Angels, Rangers, and Mariners. The Athletics, I think they're not going to fall off too much. The Rangers, I think the only switch is with the Angels. I think the Angels will come out third this year. They
Wow.
definitely will be better than the 72 wins. I think they'll be in maybe the low 90s, high 80s, but I don't think they're there yet. I think they need a few more moves and they need to make a few more deals and work it out before they're there. It's not like they're losing any time here. Trust with them for 13, 12 more years.
Yeah.
Maybe before he turns 36, or excuse me, they have about what, 7 years? Okay, that's fine. They'll figure it out by then. But yeah, and then the Mariners clearly last. They won't be moving anytime soon unless Justice Sheffield becomes the next god. So yeah,
That's interesting. That's
yeah,
huh. That's an interesting order. Maybe all right. I could all right. I mean that's fair. Maybe I can see the Athletics taking second. All right.
yeah. I mean, I don't see them falling off much. I mean, I just don't see. I don't think the Angels are improving 25 games, and I don't think the Athletics are dropping off 25 games. So
No.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's why I went with what I went with. Um, yeah. So short one for you guys today. Just bang a show out, and we'll definitely see you guys next time. And this was Down to the Wire. I'm Ross,
I'm Bryce.
and we'll catch you guys later.